Yeah,
specific.
we just ended up using them for that. That's that really. But,
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about our sort of essential items that we have for the dogs, and also things that we have to consider when travelling with the dogs in a smallish camper van. There's a few experiences we've had while we've been sort of travelling that have meant we've had to sort of adapt the way in which we do stuff, sort of add things to the kit of stuff we have. And I think those experiences might be interesting for people who are considering maybe getting a camper van and they've got a dog, or maybe they have just started travelling with their dog and have things that they might like to consider. So yeah, hopefully you'll find this one interesting. Right, let's get into the first item. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this. It's called a H2O 4K9, and I honestly don't know where we got this from. I mean, we've probably had this 10 plus years.
Yeah, since we've had Dallas,
yeah.
Definitely.
So I'm not exactly sure where it came from, and I remember when we got it, it was quite unique. I think now they're quite readily available, all different types of this.
Oh, there's so many different bottles you can get now.
But I think when we first got it, we'd seen it and gone, oh, that's a really good idea. And ever since then, we've had it, haven't we? We take it if we just go on a walk with the dogs. We take it, obviously, if we're travelling with the dogs. And basically, it's a water bottle. So it's a stainless steel water bottle that you can put water in. But the top, that unscrews, doubles as a cup. So you can then pour some water into the cup, and then the dog can basically drink some water out of it. Really, really useful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It saves you having to take a bowl and a bottle of water around with you, which is obviously a bit annoying if you're sort of just out walking. But yeah, we find this really. We've actually got two of these, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got two, and
for
they're really good because they can clip to our walking belts as well.
Yeah, so they're really easy to carry, lightweight. The dogs seem, as soon as we got them, the dogs almost just instantly knew how to use it.
Yeah,
didn't
they knew how to drink out of it straight away, so that was good.
So yeah, we'll put some B-roll on of them drinking out of it. But yeah, really useful little bottle. Like I say, loads of different options available nowadays. I think you can get these specific ones on Amazon, I think now.
I think so, yeah. I'm sure I've seen them on Amazon before. But there's loads of different types of water bottles. There's ones that collapse down, different ones that they can drink out of, but not quite in the same way. But yeah, there's loads of different ones.
I've seen quite a cool one recently. The top is like a silicone rubber sort of shroud, and you can basically pop it up the wrong way to create a cup on top of the water bottle. I thought that was quite a cool idea. But yeah, definitely something we use all the time in the van is a water bottle that the dogs can drink out of. So the next item on the list, and it's sort of linked to the first item because it's involved with keeping the dogs hydrated again, is a collapsible water bottle. Yes. Isn't it?
Yeah, so this was quite a small one. We did have a bigger one than this, didn't we? But we thought, why have we got one that's absolutely ginormous?
Well, actually, we replaced it because it perished, didn't it?
Well, yeah, there was the fact that it perished.
I couldn't believe that. The sort of the collapsible bit sort of broke apart, which is really surprising.
Yeah.
All the other stuff we've got has been really hard wearing, so I don't know whether that was a manufacturing fault or what. But
I think it probably is, because we've got this is our well. We've got the kettle, haven't we? We've got other bowls and everything, and we've never had a problem with them. But the dog one just went. But anyway, we replaced it with one slightly smaller because we thought, well, we don't need a massive one, do we?
This is it. So, now it's not actually a dog-specific bowl, is it? It's actually just like a normal catering bowl that you might use to, I don't know, put salad in or whatever. But some of the ones you see for the collapsible ones for like dogs, they're more like completely rubberized, which means they're very easy to sort of knock and spill because they're very like flexible, aren't they?
Yeah, a bit flimsy.
And then what I like about these is, bear in mind, we basically, when we're parked up on a camping trip, we have this out with water in it in the van all the time. And the beauty about it being quite rigid is it doesn't very easily knock over, both for us and obviously the dogs moving around in there. So I know this is not a dog specific item, but I actually think this is for us, it's a better bet than the sort of flexible ones that you can get sort of dog specific. Yeah. So yeah, that's our second item. So the next item is, and again, this is not actually a dog specific item, now these are actually microfiber tea towels, and we got them for the van
to use as tea towels,
basically. And I can't remember where we'd gone, but we'd gone somewhere and the dogs got really like wet and dirty,
Yeah.
and we didn't have, for whatever reason, we'd forgotten to bring a dog towel with us. So we were like, oh, we're going to have to use some of our tea towels to dry the dogs. But actually, and subsequently, having said that, we now don't use these for drying like pots and pans. We now have a separate like colour that's used for pots and pans and stuff. So these are now dog specific ones for us. But when we dried them off with these, we were astonished at how much water they got off the dogs, weren't we? Literally, you can go from them being like soaking wet to being like mildly damp.
Yeah, they do really well.
It's really impressive, and the beauty about them is you can dry them off, you can wring them out, you can still get some more water. They're amazing for their absorption, aren't they?
Yeah, I'd say they're probably a bit small, really, for our dogs, but we just ended up using them, didn't we?
This is it, yeah. But yeah, I know you can get dog-specific sort of like microfiber towels. There's, if you go in the likes of Pets at Home or pet shops, there's loads of different options. But obviously, because this was something we got, it meant we didn't have to then purchase something. But actually, these are really good for what we need.
They get them really dry, actually, don't they?
They're nice and small. Like I say, there's actually 4 towels here, although they're not very big. I'll show you. They're quite small, really, especially with the size of our dogs. But yeah, they're just really handy, and they really dry the dogs really well. So yeah, that's one thing we definitely couldn't live without now. And actually, on our recent Scotland trip, we used these, what, 3 or 4 times, I think? Yeah,
because they dry off really quick as well. We just hung them outside and then we could use them again
that's
when
the
we
thing.
needed to.
Wring them out so that the majority of the water is out, hang them up outside, and within 24 hours they're dry, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So yeah, that's the next item. Right, what's next? What's the next thing that we've got?
So the next thing is this dog first aid kit, which... Well, we didn't have a dog first aid kit, did we?
Didn't, no.
And when we were in Wales at Husky Camp,
Yeah.
we popped the boot to find Dallas covered in blood, and we had nothing to stop the bleeding. He'd something wrong with his tail, wasn't there? Basically, he'd injured his tail, and it was bleeding everywhere. And we had nothing to like wrap his tail and sort him out. So, he ended up at the vets, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean
we had to tie a sock around it to stop the bleeding, which wasn't ideal.
He had like a cyst or something that had popped on his tail or something, which, to be fair, we got him sorted and it cleared up pretty quickly. But yeah, after that we were like, we need a first aid kit in the van because for the dogs because
what we would have needed was this stuff, these wraps. Which is what the vet...
It's called vet wrap, isn't it?
Is that what it's called?
I think that's what it's called.
Well, the vet quickly just wrapped that round his tail. Bit of a bandage like underneath, like a bit of what do you call it? Like sort of cotton wool type. Yeah, underneath, and then this round, and it just sort of sticks to itself, doesn't it?
It's clever stuff.
And he was good for the whole week, wasn't he?
We kept redressing it.
Yeah, we had to redress it. But I just thought, next time if one of them ever hurts themselves, I want to be able to do that myself to be able to stop the bleeding. So yeah.
And we've actually been away a few times, and ticks have been rife, haven't they? A few times we've been away and we found loads of ticks all over the dogs. Luckily, we've spotted them soon enough that they've not like latched on or anything. Yeah. But again, first aid kit. It's got the tweezers that you have to remove a tick.
Tick remover,
So yeah, just one of them things that you don't really think about until you need it, and then you're like, oh, we've not got one of those, we need to get one. So one of those, and to be fair, we bought, I can't remember where we bought this from, but was it just
Amazon, I think. Yeah, it's got like scissors, nail clippers, all sorts in there.
All sorts of bandages. Dressings, I was to say the tick remover thing.
It's even got a blanket, like an emergency blanket. I mean, I hope I never have to do this, but that's one of those things that you can put over a mouth to do like
mouth to mouth. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, but it's worth having.
I think it's one of those. You hope to never use any of this, but since we had that experience of actually needing to use it, we're like super cautious now. Right, we need to make sure we've got something. So, and I think this was because there was different levels of kits, weren't there? Like you could get a smaller kit, a bigger kit, and this was one of the more comprehensive kits just because we thought we might never use half the stuff in here, but at least you've got it all. It's peace of mind just in case, So yeah, I think that was one of them things that we were glad we got it, weren't we, in the end?
Yeah, just because, if that does happen again, we've got something to like wrap a wound with or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's nice to have like some little nail clippers. You never know when you suddenly realise one of their dew claws is ridiculously long and you need to just like chop a little bit off it.
Yeah, this is
you know,
this is it.
Saves them tearing it.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's a really important thing to consider, I think, when you're travelling with your dog.
Absolutely. Now, something we've found, and I think I'm not sure whether it's did we go away without? No, I don't think we. Basically, we were worried about going away and not having any way of like having the dogs. We didn't want to have to go away and have to constantly hold the dogs' leads, because our dogs are never off lead. I know some people have the dogs off lead, which is fine. So we were worried about going away and having to hold the leads. So we had some leads made up that we could clip to the van underneath, and I'll show you them in a moment. That basically means the dogs can literally just chill outside. We don't have to worry about them getting away. They'll always be on our pitch because the leads don't allow them to get further than our pitch.
They can roam a little bit, but not too much.
This is it, and they love people watching. That's one of the things they love to do.
Especially Dallas.
Yeah. So we'll show you that now.
So, as you can see, the dogs are on the tie-out lines outside. Now these tie-out lines, they're basically a fabric sort of strap, and there's all the way along, there's no metal parts, which means if they brush against the van, they won't damage the van, like scratch it or anything. That's both leads. At the end of the lead, there's one of them clips that you can just clip onto the harnesses. And then where we clip them underneath the van, so the side bars have bolts which hold them on, and then onto the end of the bolts we've basically screwed these eyelets. I don't know if you can see that, and then so that's screwed onto the end of the bolt, and then we just clip them on there. And there's one eyelet at the front and there's one eyelet at the back, which means we can basically have them tied out either at the front or the back. The tie out leads we've got, I think, are 3 meters. So they're not too long, so like I say, they can't really go too far. And as I say, the dogs are more than happy just to chill and watch the world go by.
Other things to consider when travelling with dogs, and these things don't necessarily apply to travelling in a camper van with a dog. They potentially apply to travelling in a car or just in general.
Yeah, wherever you go, days out, whatever.
One of the things that we're really mindful is the dogs getting off. And obviously our dogs are not off-lead dogs.
Only if it's in a secure place.
Yeah, and that tends to be a breed-specific thing. Huskies, most people don't let huskies off the lead because they can just bolt, and obviously they really like to run, so they could just be gone. So lots of the things that we do is to sort of ensure that they're safe, that they're with us, that they can't get off.
Also, a lot of campsites don't want them off lead, so it's sort of a must to have ways of making sure they're secure.
Absolutely. So we're going to cut to Lou, and she's going to talk through the harnesses that we have for the dogs, which try and ensure that they can't get off. Because we have, on one instance before we got these harnesses, we have had a scenario where Dallas has backed, well actually two scenarios where Dallas backed out of his harness and was basically loose. But luckily we spotted it within like yards, and we got him. But yeah, cut to Lou talking about the harnesses.
So we just thought it was worth mentioning the harnesses that we use for the boys to keep them safe when they're travelling in the van, and also when they're tied out like this, how they are now. These are called Houdini harnesses, and anyone who knows the breed will know that they're experts at escaping. So these are to stop that happening basically. And they've got a strap here around their waist which will not allow the harness to go over their chest area, which means they can't back out of them. They're literally, once they're in this harness, they're going nowhere. So as long as they're clipped on, we know they're safe. These are made by a lady that we know from Husky Camp. She's got huskies herself, so she's sort of made the harnesses with that in mind. But yeah, we thought it was worth mentioning.
So another thing we do to try and keep the dog safe, and I'm sure you've seen it in lots of our videos, is we both wear walking belts. Now these are just belts that go around your waist. They're padded for a bit of extra sort of protection, and the leads that the dogs are on sort of attached to a carabiner on these, and what it means is not only is it hands free, so you don't have to hold the lead, but it means that there can never be a scenario where you accidentally drop the lead, or maybe they pull the lead out of your hand, so there's no chance of them getting away from you. Additionally, obviously, it means you're completely hands-free, so it's easier to pick up their dog poo. Obviously, it's easier to film for us. That's something that's much easier for us. So yeah, that's something that we found really useful, and it's something we've had probably since they were very young, really, maybe 18 months into having them, something like that. We got these just for ease. I
think it was only like a matter of time before we got sick of our arms being pulled out of the sockets. And it is a little bit breed specific, this as well. I feel like Huskies, because of what they like to do, which is pull, they like to be out in front, don't they? So this is a good way of, the dogs like to walk out in front, and it's I think, for me, I find it more comfortable, and like I feel like I'm less affected by their pulling when they are on the walking belts.
Definitely. And actually, that we got these following on from another instance where the dogs, I was walking both dogs on the leads, and they both bolted at the same time, and I couldn't hold on to the lead, and then they ran across the park.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of what we do is to be mindful of keeping the dogs safe, and by that, keeping them with us, sort of thing. So yeah, we'll show you what we do to secure the dogs in the van, because that's something that we really, to strap them in, make sure they can't get out if the door opens, or
make sure they'd be safe in an accident.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Cut to us talking through that.
So when we are travelling with the dogs, we always have them clipped in, whether they're in the main bit, because we sometimes travel with them in here, or if they're in the boot with the chair moved forwards. We always have them clipped on. We've got these leads, and now these leads basically attach to the isofix locations that are like between the seat base and the back, and basically you can get to them in the boot. We'll show you some B-roll of where they clip on. And basically, if they're this side, we'll just push it through the seat and clip it on. If they're in the boot space, we'll clip them on from that side, basically. And then tends to be, Sabre likes to be on the seat. He tends to lie down on here, and then Dallas tends to lie down just on the floor, like he's doing now. Yeah, and then to be honest, they're pretty chilled when we're travelling, but it gives you the peace of mind that they are clipped in with their harnesses. So if if we get in an accident or whatever, or the door opens, they're not going to just be able to get away. So yeah, that's how we travel with the dogs.
So what else do we have to be mindful of when we're out with the dogs?
Well, I guess if we've just been talking about not allowing them to get loose, etc. But if that did happen, and it is actually the law now in this country, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Basically, you have to make sure that they've got their collars on with their name tags, so that if they were to get off, we could be contacted quickly. Yeah. They are both microchipped as well.
They are, yeah.
But yeah, we always make sure they've got their collars on with their tags, so that if they just get away and someone finds them, they can easily phone us, let us know.
And we actually have, obviously, I think you guys have seen that every now and again we go to the family caravan, which is at Mablethorpe. Well, when we go to the caravan, we have a specific tag, because we're at a very set location. If the dogs were to ever get off, that's where we want them taken back to. We actually have a caravan specific tag.
Yeah, they've got caravan tags. Yeah.
That we clip onto them when we go to the caravan, just to try and have peace of mind that if they did get off or whatever, people would bring them back. Hopefully, people will bring them back to sort of where we are, basically. So yeah, lots of the things that we do are to try and keep the dogs safe, try and make sure they don't get off and get injured or whatever. But yeah, and then obviously other things to be mindful of. The dogs poo, so we always try and have poo bags with us all the time. We actually have poo bags in these containers up here.
Yeah, we always keep this this little pot here in the van full of poo bags, so that we always know we've got some. If we forgot to bring some from home, it wouldn't matter, because we'd always have some in here.
Absolutely, because obviously cleaning up after your dogs is really important.
That's the dog's favourite one. That's the one with the treats in
it.
Yeah,
absolutely. But yes, and then the only other thing that we have to be a little bit mindful of is the dog food for us, isn't it?
Yes, because Dallas and Sabre are raw fed, so obviously in the van that can be a bit tricky. But we manage it okay though, don't we?
Yeah, a while ago, before we got the van, we used to, when we were away camping or whatever, because we used to go away tenting and stuff, we used to put them on a sort of raw substitute, wasn't it? It was like...
Yeah, it was done by the same company that does the raw food, in a tin, but it was like sort of a closer to raw tin, wasn't it?
Yeah,
basically.
And the But what we found is, as they've got older, when we move them to that for like a week while we're away, they seem to have...
They don't make the transition very well at all anymore. It upsets their tummies.
Yeah. So then we found that actually with the little freezer we've got in the van, and with the because that's one thing to say, we feed them raw like dog food, so like meat, etc. But it comes frozen, and we basically defrost what's needed the night before. It's ready for them to eat the next day, sort of thing. So the beauty about that is because it's frozen, we've got the little freezer in the van which can do 3 days worth of food, can't it?
Yes, yeah.
And then if we're going away for longer than that, the 2 Yetis that we've got, whether it's the little one if we're doing a short trip or the big one, we can basically put enough food in that to go away for longer periods. Now the Scotland trip was tricky, wasn't it? Because obviously we were away
like
for
2 weeks, wasn't it?
But actually what we managed to do on that was use a rotating system, so that the food that was in the fridge, in the freezer that was in the fridge would come out of there, and then blocks from the Yeti would then go in there, so they were always being kept frozen.
Yeah.
So a little bit of something we have to be more mindful of. Obviously if you're not raw feeding your dog, it's something that probably is not applicable to you, but it's just something we have to be mindful of when we go away for obvious reasons.
Yeah, yeah. But we managed to work it all right doing that, didn't
Absolutely,
we?
yeah.
Yeah, and then it means the dogs don't get the upset tummies now. It's literally just like the same as when they're at home.
Yeah, basically.
So that works out much better for them.
Absolutely. Right, well that's all our essential items and things to consider when we're travelling with dogs. Obviously, it does add that extra sort of layer of thought has to go into what we're doing. But obviously, once you've done it a few times, it all sort of becomes second nature, doesn't it?
I think ours is made a little bit more complicated by the breed that we have, and also the fact that we feed them raw.
Yeah.
That does add like more complications for us. But yeah,
and the fact that they're relatively big dogs. If they were small dogs, it would be slightly easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd love to hear if we've missed anything out, anything you think or you've not thought about that. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What do you class as essential items when you're travelling with your dogs? Let us know. We hope you enjoyed that video. It's been fun to make.
Yeah.
Give you that little insight into the extra layers that we go to with our dogs. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed that, and we'll catch you again soon. Bye.
Bye.